I'm going again.
His biggest strength is his greatest weakness. He's always climbing.
When it comes to climbing, there's a move that's very important that I often think that a lot of people neglect. That particular move being the start. Let's take a look at it. The start of any climb gives you the best foothold known to mankind, aka the floor. Therefore, your starting position should be as optimal as possible. But unfortunately, a lot of times, we're just gonna use this purple one as an example. Most people just come up, grab it, and then just start moving. And while that right there works for this problem, the problem I have here is if you're not gonna establish the best possible position with the best possible foothold, it's gonna start to build bad habits that you're not gonna establish the best possible position with worse footholds and a more, say, less controlled environment. Because when you're on the ground, you're the most control, gives you the best opportunity to maneuver your body and find the best possible position when it comes to climbing. It sets you off for success. In this video, I'm gonna go over how can we find the best possible starts per climb using multiple different types of starts. Welcome to the most boring, relatable start known to mankind on the most easiest type of climb, where it's just left, right, left, right. Now, commonly, most people, because it's a wumble juggalicious, will just hop on it and then just start going about it. But you want to treat the start hold like how you want to treat every single subsequent hold after it. And when it comes to climbing, it's generally a good idea that we want our arms to be straight and directly beneath the hold. That way gravity is working mostly on our skeleton as opposed to our muscles. And when we start in this bent arm position, muscles working. Therefore, we're gonna activate that thing called knee joints. Knee joints have this special property called bendination. With the bendination happening, we're gonna position ourselves directly beneath our hold via our hips. From here, we're just gonna place a foot. We're still gonna then transfer our weight directly beneath the hold, get comfortable, light, and from here, we're gonna move from a position of staticnism, aka no momentum, and going upwards. Here's what I mean by no momentum. If you start a hold or start a climb, and you pull, and then you find your body moves a little bit, you're losing you're losing energy that doesn't need to be lost. Whereas, if you're able to find yourself in a position, and the second you lift off, you're completely still, that's a good position to move from, generally speaking. Let's go check out other climbing starts. Let's take a look at this black-purple tag climb. This one, and for most starts, it's generally a good idea to start with your arms nice and bent. You're gonna apply that leg and straighten your limbs. From here, it's really easy to find that perfect point of a balance, because if I simply lift up my leg, there we go. You notice how my body just naturally balances itself out. In that case, that's right here where my hips are, is where I want to begin the climb in terms of my motion. Therefore, I'm not gonna start here, because if I do, my body is just gonna swing into that already perfect position. So from here, I got to decide whether I want to keep my arms straight or bent. In this case, because there's a high foothold, I'm gonna want to immediately place my foot onto the foothold. From here, I might pull down a little bit, establish my position, and then using a little bit of momentum and hopping up, gonna hop and establish my position onto the problem, and then I'll go from here. As you can see, my arms were bent throughout this whole situation, but the important thing here was my position of going into the position was stationary and still. My hips were in the right place as opposed to being too far left or too far right. The principle of a good start, or generally speaking, a good climbing position, is to have your hips not move at the start of the movement. This black-blue tag problem is an excellent example of a start that feels awful until the foot leaves the ground. In this case, when the foot leaves the ground, it's gonna be in a flagging position, but we have to get it ready first. So I'm gonna bring my hips close to the wall. The second I lift off, I'm gonna slam my right foot, literally slam it, into the wall. Doing it that way, I'm able to establish control. But it only works that way because I was willing to actually hop off of the ground and make it feel good. Until then, this position right here feels awful no matter how you go about it. In this case, the force I used wasn't necessarily to slide my left leg to the left or to the right. It was to literally bring my feet directly into the wall to prevent my upper body from slinking backwards. One more time, as I have my hips close to the wall. The key here is to be active with the off leg. Of course, arm strength does apply a little bit, but more importantly, we just have to keep in mind that we have 4 limbs, 1, 2, 3, 4. And all 4 of them, not all the time, but should have play a role in terms of your start every time you start. For example, let's take this really easy orange one, for example, right? We're gonna go ahead, start low. Why? Because we don't want to start in this bunch position. Even though we can, now we're here and we're still bunch. So we're gonna start in this low position. Gonna establish ourselves low here. Reach, reach, reach. Notice for all those movements, my body was on my skeleton and I didn't have to adjust. But let's say I did start in this high position and then I went down here, and in order to be on my skeleton, I would have to slink down again. That little slinking ding down, just not necessary, really. And you might be thinking, Chang, why didn't you just start and reach up here because you can? Well, let's go about how that would happen if I was to go about that way of starting. First off, I would not have my arms bent. I would have them straight. With it straight, that's gonna create space for my hips from the wall, allows me to twist a lot easier, as opposed to being really close where now it's a little bit harder to twist. From here, I'm gonna position my right leg closer to the wall as opposed to further. With it a little bit closer to the wall, I already have this leaning back action, as opposed to my right leg being further, where now I have to kick it into the wall. So with it lean back, remember, because the ground is the ultimate foothold, and we're gonna treat it like it's part of the climb. So now that I'm here and I got my nice position, I'm gonna already pre-turn the drop knee and then flag out. From here, that right there is a very low effort start position, as opposed to say something just a little bit more, as opposed to say something like that. While both positions work, we're talking about trying to maximize and build good habits in order to do harder climbs and harder positions and not have this excellent foothold somewhere up there upon the wall. While we're on the topic of starts, I want to talk about how we can go about and abuse the starting system when it comes to climbing. I think we all understand that 2 hands goes where the start hold is. In this case, it's gonna look a little something like this. Nice. But just because there's 2 tags on it doesn't mean we necessarily have to start with 2 hands on it. What we can do, using an offhand for like balance or whatever miscellaneous, we could start, tap, and that's legal. The same thing is true when it comes to a big 2-hand start hose. Now, whether they're close or far apart, this example, they're close, we can start literally with 2 hands onto 1 hold that has the tag, establish our position, make sure we're nice and comfy, touch the other hold, and then we're golden. Additionally, come a little bit closer. Let's say the holds are close and it's only possible to hold on to 1 hold, but you must touch the other one somehow. You could touch 2 hands to 1 hold and then dab the other one with your hand, and that's a legal start. Funnily enough, volumes are on for more or less all the climbs. Therefore, in order to start a climb on volumes, you could have your legs touching the volumes, but you can't use your hands to assist you. For example, you can't have your hands like this, establish your position, and then touch the hold. But you can have your legs like this, establish your position, and then touch the start hold. Does that make sense? The main message of this video is, before you get off of the ground and start climbing, you want to act like you're already in the climbing motion, with the ground being the biggest possible delicious foothold that you can use. And then from right here, I'm already climbing and the foothold I'm on just gives me unlimited rest. From here, I can actually and start my movement, as opposed to thinking, hey, the climb starts when my feet lifts off the ground. Wrong. The climb starts the second your hands are on the wall. From here, it sets you up, gives you that big bottom foothold, and allows you to go higher. Sometimes a climbing problem will have red herrings. A red herring is just something there to throw you off balance. In this case, for this pink blue tag problem, we have 2 good footholds. That one's useless because for the problem, it's a lot more efficient to simply start with right leg on, and then bring left leg up to this volume. Let me demonstrate. Doing that, ouch, it's actually just a lot easier than starting with the left leg here, positioning up here, and then moving like that. Therefore, when it comes to your start, you have to think about the move that's gonna happen afterwards and how you're gonna approach it. Let's give you one more example. Using this Wumbly delicious problem right here, we have a multitude of good footholds that could be used, but which one is the best one? If my goal is to go over here, then the best foothold for me to use, in my humble true opinion, would be this foothold. Why? Because when I sink down beneath it, I activate a drop knee, I reach it. But that's not the important part. The important part is I now want to cross my leg through. Now let's assume I went with this foot instead. Would that have been a problem? Maybe not, because I could more or less do the exact same thing. So you're thinking, Chang, what was the point of all that? The point of all that was this. By starting with my foot a little bit further, I gave myself the option of moving here first. And that little bit of just cerebral thinking of climbing could prove very useful for when the problem isn't all jugs and it's actually just really small holes and really small footholds. For doing so, I'm just giving myself as much options as I can, even if the starts are super easy. But let's go to a slightly harder one and see what that could translate to. For example, on this problem, I have two decent footholds where my right leg could go here, here, or my left leg could go here, here. But the problem here, and the option here, is which one is best for which one. In this case, the foothold that's farthest away will give me future options for the foothold that's coming in. So for me, I'm gonna opt out to go as far as I can. Not only because the position feels better, but now this gives my left leg the option to rise up here or rise up here. As opposed to say, I was to go a little bit higher, and maybe I get a little bit higher of a reach. But now I only have this option for my left leg. And I want to have the most amount of options for my legs because I don't know if I could do this problem using that particular beta of lesser options. So from here, I'm like, oh, nice. Oh, now I can move here or here, but I'm gonna opt to go there. Bah, bah. So on and so forth. But let's say I decided to say, you know what, I don't like that. That's a red herring. I'm gonna go up a little bit higher. Oh, that's not bad. But then I only have this available option in terms of foothold, and it's kind of hard to swap that one right there. Although I could have totally done it, I just caught myself by surprise. Point is, you want to think about the possible next move that you might make. No need to run through the whole climb, that might be a little bit hard to remember, but at least the next move should be in your mind as you're performing the first move. As I mentioned countless times, when we're starting to climb, we're gonna treat it like it's the beginning of the climb and we're at this big foothold known as earth and floor. And for our handholds, it's not always the most comfortable starting position that gives us the best possible second position. And we'd rather have a good second position as opposed to a comfortable start position if we can help it. So with my hands like this, I now have the option to, bam, switch it higher. What that basically does is it just brings my left hand higher, gives me a little bit more reach. And that little bit more reach might be what I need in order to accomplish the next move. So the idea of swapping hands up, down, left, right, inside, double inside, outside is something you should keep in mind when you're trying to discover the best possible start beta for the moves. And again, even if the climb is super easy, which it could be or cannot be, we want to start in the most efficient possible position because why will we not exercise our power of maximum beta-ation when we have the great foothold known as earth?
Hey, thanks for watching. And if you enjoy videos like this and want to become a better climber, I more or less drop videos like this every single day. If you like, comment, subscribe, it does help me help you become a better climber. And now you know.